Hello and welcome to the Aaron Russos podcast. It's great to have you here today. And look, I wanted to share with you a very special, experience when I healed myself of an incurable disease. And I wrote it back on a website back in 2018. And I just wanted to share it with you. I just think it's quite... Look, there's always been a part of me and what I do that's been channeled. But it starts off like this. This has been an extraordinarily rewarding labour of love. It began with healing myself from what is still globally described as an incurable disease, and arriving fully in control of my own health. What followed were years spent understanding what I had done, why it worked, and how the same understanding could help others like me. When it first happened in the second week of August 2018, the joy was overwhelming. I couldn't stop smiling. Of course, a small part of me wondered whether it would return. But as the months passed, it became clear that what I had changed could simply not come back. To recreate the same condition would require the same chemical imbalances, unresolved traumas, mental strain, and internal stresses. And that combination no longer existed. It wasn't just unlikely, it was impossible. Now, nearly 5 years later, I put on a website a few years ago, I have never felt better. This website was originally created during that early period as a way to document, track, and reference what I was discovering. Today, I'm redesigning and updating it with clarity, perspective, and lived experience. It has been a journey, one that included moments of exhaustion, frustration, and even giving up. What has kept me going despite the closed doors, the censorship, the resistance, is a simple truth. That you are still there and you are still looking for answers. I know this much to be true. The system currently responsible for your health, whether medical, organisations or governmental, do not yet have the integrated understanding required to resolve these conditions. That may be still decades away. Fields need to merge, language needs to change, and perspectives need to widen. First and foremost, I am, and always have been, a mathematician. I'm a numerologist trained by training and mentored by Mark Gruner, often referred to as the numbers science guy from Harvard. For over 35 years, I've worked with numbers not as mysticism, but as a universal law, physics expressed symbolically. If you need the most direct, efficient, and complete path from A to B, one that accounts for every variable, this is what I do. What matters more than how many years I've worked on this or how many hundreds of correspondences I've had trying to help others is one thing only: your well-being. The rest can be understood later, when this knowledge becomes common language rather than a fringe curiosity. To heal myself, I had to create a structure, a framework that my mind could trust while my body recovered. That structure became a healing modality which I called Numerology 22 Healing. Numerology because I needed a formula, 22 because it was Pythagoras' favourite number, meaning no limits. Healing because it's not about adding something new, we're restoring what was already there. Everything on earth adapts, including the human body. Many exposures in small doses don't create immediate problems, but accumulation matters. environment matters and history matters. This project began in April 2018 and it took me down paths I've never expected. Days and weeks and months of exploration where nothing was excluded. I needed to understand the cause before I could design balance. Only once the cause was clear could an opposite corrective force be introduced. I considered everything individually, the individual disposition, trauma, chemistry, history, environment. Well, I also lived with ADHD, and one day I watched a TED talk about this guy using ADHD as a superpower. That momentum triggered a guided sequence, one insight leading to the next, until the broader picture emerged. We now know that many of these answers sit at the root of anxiety disorders. And at the time I asked myself, how does the world's best funded medical institution miss this? Only recently have leading scientists acknowledged that these diseases will disappear within 50 years, even though they still don't know how. That realization was a wake-up call. If someone like me could see this, what else were we not being shown? This is why I ask you not to skim, but to read, to absorb, and to prepare yourself with a new understanding. You are not just a body. You're an emotion, a mind, biology, consciousness, all interacting simultaneously. A checklist will not heal you. A body-only approach never has. Traditional medicine treats parts in isolation. Despite extraordinary funding and good intentions, mental health decline continues unabated. I know these statistics intimately. In Australia alone, we consume $30 billion annually on anxiety medications. Not including government rebates, the system expends enormous effort, yet delivers very little resolution. So I look further back to around 7000 BC, examining what humans have eaten, inhaled, absorbed, endured, survived, wars, revolutions, traumas, chemical exposure, stress. I reviewed over 8,000 medical papers across multiple diseases. Not because the answers were there, but to understand where they were looking and where they were not. People often say, you're like a doctor, and I politely decline. I understand what most specialists know years ago. I understood epigenetics, telomeres, signaling systems, DNA intelligence, how the body continues to function even when communication pathways are severed. Medicine sees this, it just doesn't yet understand it. To build this, I had to cross science, mathematics, biology, history, and spirituality. Because the answer does not live in one field alone. The modality now exists, the framework is set, the site was planted, and now is being refined, clearer, simpler, and informed by years of helping real people. The best place for me to start is the best place for you to start, is to read everything here. From there, decide whether this is something you can do with the support of family or friends, or whether you'd like guidance. Some people move forward independently, others benefit from clarity through a conversation or a few sessions. We're all different, and that's exactly as it should be. Once you've absorbed the material, you make a plan. Food and preparation take the most time, but the journey itself is something to be enjoyed. I revisit it every year. An intentional investment in myself, ideally, is done during a period of rest, though many people adapt it around work. You'll know what's realistic for you. The important thing is this: You are more than you have been told, and healing is not only possible, it's logical. And so that is, quite remarkable to even think that I was able to write something like that back then without being angry, because it's been 7.5 years now, and no one wants to help you but me, a lone person out here that knows better and has something, and and I'm not gatekeeping it. It's not pieces of a puzzle. I'm giving you every single thing without even giving me an email address, without any barriers, and I'm giving it to you for free. I go back every now and then and look at some of my old things, and obviously I don't recognize myself, and we all do grow. But I really wanted to share that with you, and I hope that that you enjoyed that. And if you do have someone that does have chronic anxiety, it's really, really easy to fix. And we know it's a problem. And look, most medicine generally isn't. It's not that medicine is bad, and I've said this many a time. It's just not complete, and most of the things that I'm talking about, system restore, it plays a game, and it basically is able to do what someone just treating a body can't do. But it's not medicine. It's not someone externally telling you what's wrong with you and then giving you something to correct it, or to suppress the symptoms while your body takes time to heal. This is a system restore where we get you into states where these diseases can't exist. And if I ask doctors, every doctor I've asked, and you can do the same, I'm very open and transparent, and I want everyone. So, the first thing I do in these programs, I go and tell your doctor what you're doing. It's because it's so natural, and there's nothing wrong with it. They won't ever say, oh, don't do that. There's no risk. There's no trial needed. There's no thing. But they can't work in that space themselves. They're very restricted with the body and the medicine that they've been taught. And also, like, the biggest thing with our health is nutrition. That's separated from a doctor's, practice. So there's always reasons for things, and it's just quite fascinating, what's out there. But look, it's all relevant, right? Why don't we know this? And we can sit around and we can talk about why we don't know it and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, it's the way it is. It's there now, right? You can study how I got to it. You can track it all the way through. But if you're really, really sick and you've had enough, like, you know what I mean? Me, I had to have had enough. You have to get to a certain stage and go, right, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's all there. And read and absorb the information, set yourself up, do the 14 days, and just watch the results. I've never seen anyone do the program exactly as it was designed and not heal themselves of an incurable disease that 300 million people have today. There must be something in that. I have seen people take pieces of parts and make themselves feel better, but not heal themselves. It comes down to a choice, okay? You can't decide what is, you haven't gone through this like I have. I was the first person in 2018. Would you believe it's 2026? Okay, this is nearly 8 years, coming up to 8 years in August. And do you know what's changed in that program over 8 years of trying to develop it into a distance model? So previously, if I wanted to, trial it with people to test to make sure that it works with all people, it's like a system restore. So it's not specifically, but we are different. So I needed to work out, a cross range of, spectrums on the anxiety, chronic anxiety, but the only people that were willing to try it were the worst of the worst. So we know that anyone left on the spectrum is going to heal as well. And the distance model that's online, to develop it to that, so that others would be able to come along and understand it with a mind that isn't well, was able to help more people. I can only help a dozen people a year in that other mode. There's 300 million people that have this. And so poor medicine, I feel sorry for these guys. I feel sorry for doctors. I'm schooling them, and all they've got, because of their training and society and the cultures and stuff, is when it gets too hard, they just delete they'll delete the conversation or the thread or the phone call. They're acting like little children because I'm giving them a lesson in life and explaining that this sits outside the very thing that they are actively and told they are not to do. And they are quite regulated. The few doctors that I've been involved with don't want to put their head on the chopping block, but yet if someone close to them or a very good patient wasn't having we're talking about people that are not having any results with treatment either. So they've got nowhere else to go. It's pretty much the end of the road. And then what happens? Because I'm a mathematician, doesn't matter what percentage they do of it, something improves. Because I'm dealing with the system. The doctors can't even deal with our system. They're not allowed to work with the body, the mind, and the soul. Well, even if they were allowed to, they weren't trained in it. They don't know how to. And the investment in time and learning it all, as I did, I guess from your perspective, even if you're not sick, even if you don't want to heal yourself, there's a lesson in this, or there's a piece of gold that is there available for all of us, and that is anyone can learn anything. And I think to know that as well is quite powerful, quite empowering. To know that I had no prior knowledge or understanding. Yeah, I had a great big background in numerology, which is physics and natural science. So that I didn't know was all going to end up being a piece and a part of this. Before the anxiety, chronic anxiety, I had another condition for 20 years, and when I was 5 years old to about 25 years old, I wasn't allowed to get a driver's license. I went to specialists. I had tests every year for 20 years, and no doctor. many a doctor and team of doctors would get hold of me and say, "No, we'll fix it, mate. We'll help you." And this was, years. So another 10 years, 12 years before I got chronic anxiety. And that problem was completely fixed with one session with a kinesiologist. Now, that might not mean a lot to you, but if you had a huge health problem for 20 years and could see no answers, and then to realize that it's something that is trauma-based. Trauma flicks a switch, and that switch can't be turned off, I thought. I've seen many with trauma that it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean, or doesn't matter how much talk therapy and psychology or psychiatry they thing, and every test. I mean, I did it all myself with chronic anxiety, but there is nothing that is able to turn that switch off. But then I found kinesiology, so there is something to flick that switch off, which the whole world, whether it be science, medical, or just common people, should hear that and just be like, why aren't we exploring that a little bit more? Because it's not new, but it's just like my chronic anxiety fix that's very easy. It's been filtered, it's been censored, it hasn't been like completely knocked on the head, because you're allowed to be a kinesiologist. I mean, it's not on Medicare, but there are many kinesiologists very widely available all around Australia now, and I've since seen them for other traumas and things. So what I'm saying is, how many problems, health problems out there, are we walking around with on a daily basis that are creating havoc and stress and emotional stress in our lives that that can be fixed? But because the mainstream doesn't want that to be part of it, it's actually, when you look at it and when you see it for what it is, at the level I'm looking at it, the biggest thing is that there's no one responsible. There's no one responsible to go back to blame for millions and millions of deaths. You talk about genocide, you talk about different people and evil people in different times of history. Whoever is suppressing these medical marvels, or suppressing the beauty, or when someone does come up with something is quite amazing, or even just not wanting to know. And it's probably a combination. I mean, I could easily find out. I've gone down many a path, and that's how I got to where I'm at. They are responsible for millions of deaths. But we also have a cost of living crisis, and I'm not saying that's related at all. But I'm saying we're having a cost of living crisis because each and every one of you that are listening to this now is doing things unconsciously, because your biology can be marketed to and hacked, that is contributing to the cost of living problem, which is the biggest problem when we look around. And you're doing it because you've been conditioned, you've been educated, everything you see, you think that's life. So when you go and line up for convenience, you don't know that you're contributing to it. And we weren't educated to be critical thinkers and leaders. We were educated to be dependent, repetition. If you wear it, anyone's biology, why would someone like me, who's sharing the greatest discoveries of human history thus far with you through a process, was still able to be addicted to cigarettes for 30 years? Among other things. So, and even when I healed myself, I went back to drinking and smoking and everything that was I'm not saying that they're the causes at all. That's been out there for a long time. But what I'm saying is, we oscillate to that comfort, whether it's good for us or not, and so I do share what you can do. I do share, to be part of it, how to not be part of it. It's lonely. It's a courageous road. It's we know that. I feel like I'm flogging a dead horse here. We know that high processed foods and high sugar foods is not good for us, right? It's not going to kill us. You can eat it for a long time, just get unhealthy over a long period of time or whatever. And I've just spent a year driving all around this country, and you get to the next town, and I've got a choice of, if I can see it from now, McDonald's, KFC, no Hungry Jack's where we are, 7-Eleven, high processed. What I get to the next town, what are my choices? The same. I get to the next town, what are my choices? The same. When it comes to convenience, why hasn't anyone opened up a fast food chain that sells healthy food with a drive-through, with salads and micronutrients and, a salad roll with 26 items on it? Why? Don't have to cut out meat. You can still have proteins and sauce and marinades and stuff. But why don't you go from town to town and there be a healthy alternative? And the answer also comes in the way of addiction. Just say there was a healthy alternative, would it be as busy as McDonald's? There's many reasons why we do things as consumers, and it's usually to do with marketing, addiction, and lifestyle. And we keep lining up for convenience. There's a poor family, nearly in every shopping centre, who owns a butcher shop or a fruit and veg shop outside the major supermarkets. And I say to them, do you know that fruit and veg in there that's really bad quality, picked early, tastes terrible? I said, at least I've tried your apples and I can tell that, they're almost organic. I said, do you know that they just made $236,000 and sold $236,000 in fruit and veg last week? How'd you go? Did you get close to them? Did you beat them? They're only 50 metres away from your door. What happened there? Was there families? Was people going in there and going, well, am I going to spend my money in a family business or a business that's owned by 70-something% shareholders, and most of the money goes offshore anyway for people that are never going to spend, 5 minutes in this country? No, it's convenient to go there, put it all together, and the family can't even afford to put a casual employee on, pay the rent, the overheads of the thing, which is then the building itself is another multinational company. So we're not really helping our fellow man out. We're desensitized. We're distracted. We've got to keep up with the Joneses. There's all language around it. There's all things that we're doing. We make fun of those that are healthy. it's, look, at the end of the day, and I've been saying this for quite some time now, and people don't like it because when you say something about someone, they remember the negative thing, or I could be, and someone brought this to my attention when I was online. I used to be online, and it was just a pointless exercise because if you can't understand the basics, then you're never going to understand what I'm talking about. And I was always very good at, challenge me. I want to have a robust conversation and get to an understanding. I don't want to get to the too hard part and just sweep it under the carpet. But this one guy one day, he goes, mate, everyone was attacking me because I might call you a name for being an idiot, or how stupid are you to realise that, every week there's, I'm saying that every week there's someone posting these new discoveries with cancer. It's been going on for 50 years. They've got trillions of dollars, the greatest medical and science minds in the world. They've never given you one thing. And yet some of the big ones, billions of dollars in donations last year. It's a game. They're playing a game, and everyone's, and I'm going, you idiots. And then everyone's like, oh, piss off, poor sick people, they're not going to get the help they need if you don't give them money and all this shit. And it's not about the cure for it, it's about the support for the family and all this. And I'm like, dude, you just don't get it. And this guy goes, oh, mate, what do you say? You can't, you might not like the way he's saying it to you, but you can't deny that he's just spitting the truth. And that's the way I felt. I was like, you're right. The truth doesn't work around here. Okay? This is not the place for the truth. This is, and it doesn't matter what, what's said, but, I'm sure a lot of people have I'm sure a lot of people have gone crazy. Do you know what I mean? What would you do in my position? Okay, let's just think about this for just one little bit for the last bit of this podcast, okay? You have gone on an epic journey of epic proportions where you've been open to everything. You've tried everything from ayahuasca to mushrooms to this. You've had to try everything, but medical as well. Anything you've even heard of, even if it was woo-woo, spiritual, whatever, and you've just gone and you've done this whole big thing, and boom, you've actually healed yourself of an incurable disease that you had. You've done something that no one else on the planet Earth has ever done in their life before. Right? That's not what I'm setting the scene here. So you're so happy because you were just about to end it all. You didn't want to be here on the planet anymore. It was getting so bad you could not deal with this disease. It was just the quality of life every day, getting up in that pain and having these things. It's like people with chronic pain. You can't escape it, right? Medicine doesn't work. It doesn't turn it off. There's no, there's some diseases where you just you can't live with it. It's too much. And then you fix it. And so you're naive. You don't know any better. You don't know anything about the world. You've been too busy having a good time like I did, right? So you don't know nothing about government, about religion, about spirituality. You put on the census that you're a Jedi. You know nothing. But you're just so happy because you think all these people that are, whether it be institutions, organisations that have been trying to find the problem, find the solution to that disease, and spent trillions of dollars doing so, you've got the answer, and they're the ones, like the governments. I did think the media but that is the biggest joke you've ever seen. But you get addicted to it and you can't turn it off. And it's the one thing that's killing you. And so you've got this and you're so happy and you're so naive and you go, oh my God, this is great because I know what 300 million people have got. I had it and I'm the only one that knows how to fix it. And so you go, what's the best way to get it to them? What do you think? You would start with the organisations first, wouldn't you? Because that's what they've got on the door. They've got, we're here to find a cure for this. And so when they ghost you and make everything disappear and you're not part of it anymore, I was in shock. Government lost registered parliament mail. I was unbelievably shocked, confused. And you certainly do hear some things about, Big Pharma back then. This is before, now everyone's awake to them and they fucking, the governments and Big Pharma and all the things, injustices. There's a huge awakening now. But back then, 7-8 years ago, and I was like, oh, shit, I look like a crazy person. And so I thought, well, this is sort of important, right? Surely someone's got to want a thing. So what I'm asking you now is, if you had been knocking your head against a brick wall for 7 years and spending all day, every day, trying to bring this truth, all open and all transparent, all that one doctor would have to do is get a patient with anxiety, learn the program, do the program in 14 days and see if it heals them. That's all not one doctor in the world, still to this day, even though I've contacted over 7,000 of them, including the biggest organisations in the world, including 17 different developed countries' governments, right? But they won't do it. And this is just not even 1% of what I've done. What would you do in that position? And I've asked this, I've, explained it a little bit more in detail, but it's full on, like that many correspondence, everything just goes missing. Post online, you feel like you're going crazy. Shadow ban, all these things that, we've all heard that story that one of those comedians said about Dave Chappelle, and I've actually had a real life story, and I've actually podcasted it a few times about people that think they're more powerful than other people in the community. And they said to Dave Chappelle, we've made a little mistake with your contract. We're going to give you so many million instead of the 50 million that you should get paid for what you've done. And he said, what do you think my fans are going to say about you fucking giving me fucking less than 5% of what you owe me? And they said to him, by the time you get home, your fans will think you're a fucking washed up crack fucking drug addict motherfucker. Meaning they control the narrative. We can destroy anyone that doesn't want to toe the company line. And I had someone also threaten me with something and say that I would be they would put me on a national TV show and say this story about me if I didn't do something. And sure enough, the next morning I had that, I won't say who it is, I don't want to give it energy anymore. I want to give it power. And I was like, and then, doesn't matter. Like, who do you fucking think you are, buddy? So what would you do in this position? Because whenever I ask them that question, or someone that knows me quite well goes, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And I go through and tell them what I've done. And it's to the nth degree. It's the most elaborate, most detailed. I've tried everything. I've tested things. I've got 100 accounts of social media, and I've tried things, and links haven't worked, and error messages, and where do you think things go? Originally when I was doing this, the only reason I did it is because I wanted to get off my medication. So I went to Google and I Googled, could I get off this? And there's like 20 pages. Why you can't, what it does to your chemical and brain after having it for so long. Back then there was independent search engines. A lot of them are bought by the big ones now. It's very convenient, isn't it? And there was pages of people that had done it before sharing for free how to get off them. So everyone stops their search at Google. So Google just has to be, basically sharing what everyone wants you to share. And that's the other thing. I've mentioned it many times before. Many people go, oh, you better be careful, mate, you'll get whacked. I said, buddy, they don't have to whack me. You're all fucking brainwashed. It's the last thing I have to worry about. That's just a fear thing that they've, put out there to try and, And look, I'm asking you, what would you do? And so I had to go back to the original plan, the original source of where I got the answer, which was divine, okay? Whether you believe it or not, whether you believe in woo-woo or whatever, it was divine. I tested it, and it worked. It's probably the only proof of God that anyone on the planet could get as well. That's pretty fucking profound, right? That's pretty out there. And so I went back to that same source, same project. And do you know what the answer was? Surrender. Surrender. This is not your problem. Surrender. Let it go. I got your back. And I'll tell you what surrender looks like for me. Instead of getting online, posting shit, trying to protect people, because what happens is you'd only find one truth. It's a cascade of truths. It's a whole ocean of truths, and every day there's more that come about. So I see other things, and I'm not even doing healing stuff. I'm just going online, going, "That's not true. You've just given thousands of dollars. You're donating to this thing on YouTube or whatever," and it just starts disappearing in front of my eyes. Hundreds of posts, and my energy is just like being put into all these things that are just censored or just totally manipulated. And so I'm like, and like I'm going to tell you what surrender means to me. So I've been podcasting over, I think I've got rid of a few, but I've got about 106 podcasts on there. 12 of those podcasts have been done in 2026. And prior to that, every month I did 6.2 podcasts per month. Okay, that was my average. And they're all on topics with that are all just pieces and parts of the mechanics of a human being, but holistically, and with instruction sets, practical instructions, explanations, things that you can do to not get brainwashed. Amazing things, questions, truths to things that we don't know the answer to, whether it be a ghost, a UFO, energy, things that I found out from anthropologists, just things. And all these things you can test and try, and whatever, the magnetic grid of the earth and all this stuff. And I'll do a post, and I might go out there on social media, and I'll send an email campaign, I'll do all this stuff, and average of maybe 116 listeners, consumption, 36 hours on Spotify alone per month. This month, I've been surrendered this year for 7 days, and I had, like a couple of days ago, I had 116 people listening at once for 114 hours. So by me not posting anything at all and being surrendered as I was instructed from the original divine source that gave me this healing, it's working and getting out, and people are absorbing it, and through synchronicity and through other divine ways. Who knows? They say that works in divine ways. So I'm asking you what you would do if you had something in your life that you're maybe focusing on giving too much energy to the negative side of it, and you surrendered. That's, surrender is an amazing thing. The inner child, these are different energies, they change the chemicals within your body, and they're feeling good, feel good chemicals. So yeah, that's where we're at. But there is probably nothing that any of you, even 8 billion of you collectively, could provide to me that I haven't already pursued, and I've probably done another 14,000 that you wouldn't even think of. I'm not, I'm a mathematician first, and everything else after. So surrender's great. Surrender's great for me, and this is, there's a great guy, I can't remember his name. When I was on social media, I used to listen to him, and he's going, "Mate, too many people treat this life like a sprint. It's a fucking marathon." And when you're traumatized, or when you get triggered and you're running and you're looking for the next best thing, or you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and everything, it speeds life up, right? That's where things go wrong. And I guess to realize that nothing done in haste actually ever, delivers anything good, or to a point where it's, it's not needed. There is no instance in life now where I've actually thought, I need to quickly go and do this, do that. Never. Stress will kill you, and kill you a lot faster than, and the fear and everything that you've got on your plate every day. But you don't know that, right? Because you're playing a game and you're laughing at people like me that have got the answers to the very things that you complain about. So I guess it's not what, I've got no bits of advice here, guys. I'm just sharing a story, and as I say, lots of things are put out there as a bit of a timestamp, and lots of things are there for when people are ready to come along and get them in this journey of synchronicity. We used to think that, praying and manifesting were two different things. They're exactly the same thing, and we don't know how to do both. I've got that many videos on manifesting. I'm not gonna go down that path, but it's fair to say that not much of it is out there. I can say that a very good friend has just ridden past on a bike, very heavily, what would you call it, agitated. So I've spent the last 12 months on the road and living with a lot of homeless people, which I'm not sure if you know, but I've got a book. It's called The Ones You Walk Past. It's not it's not a, glorifying telling homeless people's stories. It's highlighting what's out here on the streets, and that these people are all someone's brother, mother, sister, auntie, grandma, and they're out here living on the streets and suffering in insufferable pain and starving. And some don't have the capacity. They've got mental health issues, drug addiction. Not many with alcohol, actually. I thought there'd be a lot more, but that's probably a minority that I've seen out here. And those people are more a choice, like they're out here, they probably did have a choice to, but they're just, not in a great state. Some of the people, I'm in a place that I've gone back to from the start of the year as well. So, there's a girl over the road that's been here since the start of the year, set up a little thing in the sand dunes and built a house with tents and gardens and all sorts of stuff. But old brother here, he's in a bad way. He struggles a lot, and it doesn't look good from the outside. It looks quite aggressive, and it's also a little bit random what he does and his behaviour, and I definitely bring a certain calmness. And look, well, I've been with 1,000 of these people around Australia, and I've been with grandmothers on disability pensions, living in tents on beaches in very cold climates. So, yeah, I think that's the takeaway from that, is that, no matter what I do moving forward from this day onwards, I won't do what most people do to make themselves feel better. I won't give them, money or food to keep them in their wretchedness for an extra day. But I will give them my love, my ears to listen to them, a definite conversation, some stories of, when you've heard lots of people out here, how they get out of it. I specifically gave every comfort and everything away to be one of them, to see how me, who's very resourceful and has many trades and work things that I've got, to see how I could see if I could get out of it, using the services and the supports that they have out here on the street. And yeah, you'll have to read the book to find out what happened and what we went through. And look, the book just humbled me in a way that nothing else ever has, and I will never be the same again from that experience. And you think after what I've just been talking about with all my healing stuff and all the rest of it, I got out here and people in winter died. People took their own life, and they were just so happy every day and smiling and that. But deep inside there was pain, that because it's not just pain, you have to sit in it every day, and the silence and the pain, and I'd hate to even think what they're going through really. But and then to find that a guy parked on the highway, gassed himself, and was there, and the gas made him blow up and stuff. And who knows how long the motor was running for. It was on a highway as well. Oh wait, old brother here's now. He looks like he's got a gown on, and he's running out into the roads with a packet of squash donuts or something. So I think he comes over because 7-Eleven's very strict with their food safety, so they do throw out things that reach their expiry rate, and also all the pie warmer stuff has to be thrown out after so many hours. And so he comes along to, if the bins aren't locked, they're sometimes locked, or you can open them a little bit if they're locked and just get. But he looks like he's got a box of Krispy Kreme donuts squashed. But now one car is saying something to him. He goes around and collects bottles. He also picks up rubbish. He's like a local, what do you call it? Guy that, well, it's a rubbish picker-upper. But he's gone back to, but he's so animated with whatever he does and stuff like that. And, and then not all like that. There's a lot of, because anger's a stage that they go through as well, and those stages they don't, I've said in the book that many run out into the roads going, oh, you can see me, and that's why I called it the ones you walk past, because we just walk past all these people and all they really need is just a bit of acknowledgement and a bit of love. But to see some of the things that I've seen and with women and we're talking about different levels again, like with life, with everything. And it's, look, if it's, I don't know if it'll do anything for you, but I don't really care if anyone reads it. I got something out of it that I don't think I could ever get from anything else in life, and even just spending that time in the silence with no distractions and stuff. But it definitely humbled me, and I'm really appreciative, and I'll always remember that I won't go back. Well, I've got to go back to some sort of normality, but I won't go back without remembering them, and hopefully the book highlights it enough that we start to realise that the problem is not, or sort of a bit of it's designed that way, but also we just, it's all our responsibility, and there's something that we can do when we start thinking about things differently. Anyway, that was our little podcast about me reading out a letter from something from a website from a few years ago that I wanted to share, and then we end up talking about the homeless people in Australia, where I am. It might be, from what I've seen in America and England and other countries, it's quite bad as well. We're not. I went across Australia doing this in land, 5 different states, coastal. They're everywhere. Even when you go into these little towns in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, what's that guy? And they're like, oh, that's the local homeless guy. He's washing his food containers. I let him use the tap there, and I said, oh, is there many? I was just stopping to get some fuel going through just one of the smallest towns. And he goes, oh, there's 3 here. And he goes, but I'm from another town, that's 37 minutes that way. The guy from the petrol station goes to work, and he said, oh, yeah, there's about 4 there as well. So, yeah, we got a lot of work to do as human beings on this planet. We certainly do. But look, anyway, thank you for listening, and for whoever's, following and sharing this stuff and making it snowball and stuff, I really thank you as well, because it really does mean that we want to be better people, and we want to, have better experiences here and be healthier and be more in control of life. So, and that's all I'm sharing. So that means that, it's getting to more people, which means we're heading in the right direction. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it.